Hello, everybody. The last few days, there has been a disturbing trend within the Eritrean online community. Various posts, various tweets, and different views expressed coming from different outlets, individuals, personalities, officials, uh, expressing anti-China views that are pretty much echoing or co-opting right-wing views or conspiracy theories that are very hostile to China or demonizing China. So I will try to highlight what triggered this, what is the political motivation of these individuals. Also, to just express how this has nothing to do with defending the state, the Eritrean history, and also has nothing to do with anything productive for the country and its people as it's facing coronavirus right now. So these individuals are pretty much ideologically bankrupt. They have no principle. They're using these opportunities anti-China takes to pretty much to defend the decision of Isaias in regards to Jack Ma donation. And lastly, I will try to make the connection with these particular individuals and outlets attacking the World Health Organization and joining in on the attacks against China and the World Health Organization, the narrative, and using these sources to pretty much build up on these narrative they are building themselves to excuse this whole Jack Ma delivery to Eritrea fiasco that have pretty much took shape within the last few weeks. So let's begin. As you can see, Jack Ma tweet is his first tweet actually. So it was March 15th. It got a lot of retweet likes. It's very popular, welcoming the news that the test kits will be sent out to the U.S., which is good news. This is something that is a personal initiative on his funds, not the state itself. March 16, it's when he officially stated that he will send out to 54 African countries, which is really something that he should be applauded, which is great. And then so on. And then he even sent the test kits to Cuba, which is very welcoming, and it's something that everybody was appreciating. And then March 22nd is when it's officially confirmed from Abby tweets, and Jack Ma retweeted saying that thank you and everything is confirmed. So that's when it's being announced that it will be distributed from Addis Ababa to all the 54 African countries, which is welcoming news. So that's the beginning, right? So from that reaction, Eritreans were, oh my God, this is great. For the most part, who want the best for the state and for the country, were welcoming this news and saying, all right, this is Jack Ma, this is a great donation, right? That's what is happening. And but along the line, those few days, March 22nd, April 5th, there has not been any confirmation officially that it has arrived within Asmara airport, the donation that Jack Ma sent out. The first report to investigate what is happening was VOA. Pretty much VOA is the first official mainstream media that pretty much tried to investigate what was happening. Pretty much that was April 6th, right? But you got to understand, VOA, everybody knows, doesn't have a great track record of reporting news or information coming with Eritrea. So you have to take this with this understanding that it has a lot of bias and very negative track record of attacking Eritrea. So that's the confirmation. But for the most part, it does try to highlight and try to confirm why it was delayed, or try to reach out to people who are on the front line responsible for the delivery and logistics, which is fine. You have to investigate, and that's fine. But it just becomes a problem when you have Medon, who is an established professional or entrepreneurial regime change activist, who is has her own NGO, who try to enrich herself and so on. So this individual is not really an independent or a voice that you go to if you want the very balanced view of Eritrea. So this VOA article didn't really do a good job trying to bring in people who are balanced. So we just brought in somebody who's really that were really bringing a one-sided view of Eritrea. So that itself is a problem, because the individuals like her took advantage of this void and this news about Eritrea not receiving the supplies, and it becomes a very controversial issue. And yeah, so it looks like he tried to confirm it from the Ethiopian side. And Ethiopian side did not really join on the whole bashing of Eritrea or anything like that, which is something that they're trying to avoid right now, which is great. Yeah, so this is the first news that pretty much, or official mainstream news that try to investigate the case why it has not the donation itself has not arrived in Eritrea. And a lot of people were trying to see what was the reasoning, and then the first quote unquote media source to speculate why Eritrea did not accept these donation was let's see here, was Testify News. Testify News, it claims to be independent. Like you see here, its bio, it claims to be independent, and that's not true. It does not provide any independent views. It does not provide online news or any type of analysis. All it does, it's the Eritrean equivalent of the Drudge Report. It just is a news aggregator, brings in all these news information from different sources and try to post it and let people comment on there. That's pretty much it. And it makes its ad revenue through there, driving traffic. So it has become a popular hub, as pretty much you could say as a replacement to Dahai.org. Before Testify News, there was Dahai.org, which become a community-owned news aggregator, which is pretty much started in 1990s, was the first news aggregator for the Eritrean community online. So Testify News, it claims to be independent news, but it's not. It's run by this individual who has a track record of having these very excessive hyper-nationalist defense of Isaias Afwerki by all means, and use arguments that are nasty and very divisive to present arguments in support of the Isaias Afwerki talking points and views. They're very divisive. So this individual is not independent. He's really pro Isaias. Everything Isaias did, everything he did is right, no matter what. There's no analysis provided by this Testify News. So Testify News was one of the sources that pretty much pushed out this narrative about why Eritrea did not accept this donation from Jack Ma. And then he started speculation, putting out these posts saying, we don't accept it because we're self-reliant, and second, because China has defective products, and so on and so on. So that's what happened. So when there has not been any official state response to the reasoning or motivation or explanation for why Eritrea did not accept this donation. So there has not been any confirmation from the Ministry of Information, diplomat, or anything to that level. So this individual made up a speculation on his own and gave points that are anti-China, and in order to build up this argument, the reason why Eritrea is not accepting this donation, he started posting these very like right-wing sources to build up his argument. And as you can see, this is one of them. Like he used this video that is taken from Miles, this individual named Ian Miles. That's pretty much, he is a right-wing pretty much talking head, popular right-wing talking head that is active on Twitter and various social media. He's known to post very made up and exaggerated false news, takes on Twitter, videos, sources, various sources made up, embellish, fabricated news or information to attack China. He's very hostile. He is himself right-wing and very conservative. Anybody can look him up. This is a website that pretty much lists Right Wing Watch, has his name on there. You should really do examine. So I recommend anybody examine that name. So why would Testify News post a right-wing source to validate this? Oh, look, China has very defective products. That is why Eritrea doesn't accept. This escapes logic, rationality, and the history of China and Eritrea relationship. This individual is trying to explain his speculation to fill that void of why Isaias Afwerki, for some reason, did not communicate or clearly explain why this is not accepted by Eritrea or officially. So in order to fill that information void, this individual decided to make up anti-China takes. and this is why the source initially started. So the Testify News was the person that triggered this initially, and then it becomes a snowball, and then there's various people online taking on these anti-China hostile views that were not necessary, because before this issue, nobody online from the Eritrean community was having this hostile anti-China takes. They were not participating in demonizing China. They're not participating in the narrative against China or anything to that level. But because of this individual and different sources and personality, they have pushed this anti-China takes in order to fill this void of because there's no official statement. They're trying to make up a various speculation, trying to blame China or try to demonize it or deflect to China and say this is a bad product, which is wrong on various levels. It's very dishonest and is wrong. Like I mentioned, Cuba did accept this. It tried to accept it, but it was blocked. So this is not an issue. There's countries accepting the donation from China or different China foundation like Jack Ma. So this does not make sense for the rationale to say Eritrea will not accept it for various reasons. So it doesn't make sense. So that's one of the source. Testify News was one of the source, and then let's see here. Going back to the issue of the World Health Organization, that's a separate issue. It goes along with the whole anti-China take that's pretty much used by this outlet. It pretty much put out a view right now, or actually on the 7th, trying to demonize the WHO because of Tedros, which is a separate issue itself. On his rationality and argument, he uses Trump, right wing. Another thing is you have a Republican, a right wing. Another thing is you have another source that is a right wing Republican. So all this argument is built on the foundation that are coming from very hostile, anti-China, right wing sources. So this individual behind this, why is this doing this? You got this individual, Ian Miles, which is right wing. And in his argument, he has pro-Trump views to pretty much defend his argument against the World Health Organization. And he uses the views of Republican, so on. And then this just doesn't make sense. This person is very unprincipled, ideologically bankrupt. And how did this happen where right-wing views, expression, and worldview of that are pretty much anti-China does not make sense with the Eritrean reality and the Eritrean state and defending the state? It has nothing to do with defending the state. This is only used to defend the whole mess that Isaias has made about not communicating clearly for reasoning of not accepting the donation or managing this whole fiasco. Isaias Afwerki created this. He should have just accepted the donation. If there's concerns about quality defect, the Ministry of Health should have inspected it themselves. Then senior nurses, senior doctors should have inspected it, and that's the end of that story. But because of Isaias Afwerki mismanaging this issue, it has become a tool by different outlets and different enemy of the state to use this propaganda to demonize the state and try to make it seem like the state does not care about the Eritrean people by not accepting needed donations. So Testify News, instead of questioning the decision by Isaias Afwerki for this logic, this has no logic in it. He's trying to deflect and punch down against China, which has nothing to do with this. This has nothing to do with this. So demonizing China and trying to use all this argument does not make sense. So let's get back to the World Health Organization. As you can see, I mentioned that earlier. He put out this views pro-Republican, all these Republican sources like Republican. His argument is the WHO did not give enough notice about the coronavirus and trying to excuse China. All this stuff. This is the talking points that are pretty much predominantly held by right-wingers. In addition to that, the liberal media, such as the New York Times, there has been a gathering storm of anti-China takes. The last 6 months is increasing. The narratives are building up against China. So this is one of them. In order to get to pretty much to attack and target China. They're going after the World Health Organization in its response to the coronavirus. This is untrue. I think anybody can investigate the case that the World Health Organization did try to warn countries and did a good job to manage the case. Its crime is for pretty much investigating and to conclude that China has done a very well in its management of the controlling the COVID-19 rates, which is something that everybody should applaud. So because of this reasoning, the WHO is being attacked, and guess who's joining on this? It's Testify News. You cannot make this up. This is individual. The behind this site is very using right-wing talking points in order to go after Tedros. Tedros, obviously, he was a former foreign minister of Ethiopia, who's a member or might not be a member of TPLF. You know, before 2018, I was actually tweeting that he should not be, you know, director of the WHO, because at that time, you know, we were still under war, and he was he was not the most competent foreign minister and Ministry of Health. I didn't really view him that way. I don't think he should have been the one to take over the WHO director. I'm not gonna lie, but because of the situation with China, he's done a good job in managing the case of WHO not to be used as a tool to attack China, and he's done a good job. And his response to different views about Africa has done a good job. He has become very popular within the African world right now, and his response, as you can see, a lot of Africans online are very praising his views and defending him. So instead of realigning and detaching yourself from the whole view just because he was associated with TPLF as a foreign minister, these individuals like Testify News try to use his past association and then try to attack WHO and then try to link it with China and trying to say that China is responsible for his candidacy or his all that stuff. So these people they're ideologically bankrupt, and they lack principle, and they're opportunistic, and they use any type of argument to go against China. So like you can see the Blaze, which is a right-wing website, is putting out the Chinese Communist Party, you know, is attacking the WHO, and guess who's joining? Testify News. What a surprise. And then you have another thing is Ambassador Estefanos, which I just want to say that I respected what he has done for his country and EPLF, but he's really embarrassing the state in his tweets. Very anti-Marxist. What does this have to do with anything? Why do you have to tweet this? This is very embarrassing. He fought for EPLF, and he holds very anti-Cuban views, anti-USSR views, very anti-Marxist views, which does not make sense. There's no rationality for his views because EPLF was a Marxist organization. The Eritrean Revolution had a Marxist slant. Even the ELF did. ELM, all this, they're all Marxist inspired, Maoist inspired. So this conclusion by Estefanos is really bad. He's using this opportunity to bash WHO because of Tedros association, and he's pretty much using the tactics used by right-wingers to say, look, this is communist, which alleging that Tedros had a connection to the mark. First of all, the TPLF, they're not communist. It's a myth these guys are trying to build up. Tedros is not communist at all. TPLF, under Meles Zenawi, TPLF was anti-Soviet Union during the 80s. Even after independence, even after the fall of the Derg, TPLF was not revolutionary or Marxist or communist at all. There was a heavy privatization, pretty much conceding to neoliberal institutions such as IMF, pretty much land grabs. Even Meles Zenawi was invited to Davos, so this is a myth that TPLF or even Tedros was a communist. That's very false. It's very wrong to even conclude that. They're not even close to being communist at all. So, Mr. Ambassador, you're wrong on this. Please stop tweeting. This is really embarrassing. You're embarrassing the state of Eritrea. You're not being factual. Very embarrassing. So, how can you be a former EPLF fighter and talk like this? This is embarrassing. Very embarrassing. So, another thing is, I wanted to point out, like, another talking head was this guy named Emmanuel. Emmanuel, this individual, an individual like him, he is the reason why I'm talking about him is because he is like a vocal person. He represents everything that is wrong with the PFDJ personified in the diaspora. Very opportunistic, right-wing views, promoting cultish views, anti-intellectuals, very right-wing views. So Manuel is everything wrong with PFDJ. Very divisive, very like hostile, toxic views that are put out. So in order to attack the WHO because of Tedros, he's using anti-China takes. Look, there was a different tweet where he said that this is a communist. He was a former communist. Tedros was a communist leader. Therefore, he needs to step down. Look, he's appealing to Donald Trump's. I've seen several times where this individual tried to appeal or try to say, insinuate that he supports Trump or Republican people. So what does it have to do with defending the country? This has nothing to do with defending the country. This has something to do with defending his Size of 4K decisions. When he mismanages things, they try to cover it up and they'll use whatever excuse. If that means aligning yourself with right-wingers, Republicans, and Trump, be it. This is not the people we need. We don't need these people defending or even being associated with the state. These guys are reactionary. They're going to put Eritrea's name on the world stage to embarrass it. They're not leftists at all. This is not where we stand. This is not our principle. So definitely we want to dissociate with these type of people. That's about it. So in the end, I just want to pretty much clear out that China, I'm not trying to present China as a state without imperfection or flaws. It has flaws. There has been problems in the past, and it's the support of the TPLF regime. Yes, that is a problem. But during the 18 years, it was China that was heavily involved inside Eritrea with different building of different infrastructure, giving access to loans, building the Eritrean Institute technology, which is something that everybody was applauding a few years ago. The same individual who are opportunistic were applauding China, now are bashing it, trying to punch below and punch China. Does not make sense. These guys have no sense of principle. They're not righteous people, and they should not be associated with the Eritrean community. They really are harming the Eritrean community, and they're dividing us. We don't need these people. They're really harmful. It has nothing to do with the Eritrean revolution. They're anti-Marxist. They're anti-leftist. They're very divisive, and I'm telling you, these people are horrible. I just want to state that. So China has not done anything wrong against the Eritrean state. It has a track record of supporting the state. Obviously, it has its own self-interest, but at the same time, China needs to stand. It is a world power that could give a different option for third world states like Eritrea. Another thing is, regarding the World Health Organization is doing a good job. It's a very effective organization. Regarding Tedros, yes, I'm not defending Tedros' past issues, controversy within the Oromia community, especially in the Ogaden community. That's something that he as an individual has to be accountable for, but at the same time, he's doing a good job. He's doing very well in his handling of the WHO and not being used as a anti-China tool. So that's something that we should appreciate. And all Eritreans have a duty. If you are an Eritrean leftist, you have a duty to condemn this. If you are seriously support EPLF and the revolution and the Marxist tradition, you should condemn these people. Anybody that is going right-wing, anybody that is using right-wing sources to condemn China is not somebody that is a friend of Eritrea. Is not a friend of the Global South. Is not a friend of the third world states. That's it. So this is my conclusion. Hopefully everybody got an idea. Sorry for the lengthy lecture. Thank you.